Welcome to the Dice Tower Daily Chat. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me today is Jerry Hawthorne from Plaid Hat Games, designer extraordinaire of Mice and Mystics and Stuffed Fables and Aftermath, and has worked on all sorts of amazing games over on Plaid Hat. What's going on, Jerry?
Hey, how's it going, man? Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I really wanted to get Jerry on here because I get to hang out with Jerry at conventions and things like that sometime, and we haven't got to hang out. So I'm like, hey, I need to get Jerry on here so we can talk board games and stuff.
Awesome. Cheers. So what are we going to talk about?
If there's people that don't know you or like what you're into or as far as like what you do over at Plaid Hat, what's kind of like your role over there?
Okay, so I am a full-time board game designer for Plaid Hat Games, and I specialize in adventure games that are heavy in narrative, like story-based games that are kind of wholesome, kind of good for the whole family, and that involve a little bit of gameplay and some dice rolling and cards and a little bit of reading from a storybook sort of thing, kind of combined. So I kind of like to take I think about it as taking like the adventure game dungeon crawl genre and sort of turning it on its ear, trying new stuff, and creating games that allow seasoned gamers to also bring new gamers into the fold and teach them how to play through these little narrative experiences and stuff. That's what I do.
That's awesome. Well, everybody, make sure to flood us with tons of different questions that you'd like to ask Jerry or ask anybody. We're just gonna hang out here and have a positive, good time with you all. I know that you guys over there at Plaid Hat just released Forgotten Waters a little bit, and I've really enjoyed that game as well.
Yeah, Forgotten Waters is a big project that that Isaac Vega and Joe and Bistro were working on for like 3 years. Mm-hmm. And it basically started off as sort of a passion project by Joe himself, and he talked to Isaac about it, and they sort of teamed up. And Isaac really wanted to help Joe bring his passion to market. And so then when they realized that it was going to be sort of a story-heavy game, of course they brought Bistro into the fold, and so the three of those guys worked on that game for a long time, and it's really, I mean, you've played it and stuff. There may be some viewers out there who haven't played it, but really, it's very light when it comes to the mechanics of the game, mm-hmm. And it's really easy to teach, and it's super friendly for all different gamer types. So people who like games a lot, or people who are you would call gamers, they can find all the little gizmos and all the little the parts of the game that tickle their fancy, but for new people and stuff, the game is like really easy to learn because the actual mechanics of it are pretty simple. But what really makes the game shine is that there's this really, really, really rich storytelling in it that is comical and adventurous and whimsical, and it's all sort of a bunch of everybody plays a part of a scoundrel pirate on board a ship, and nobody plays a captain. You literally have the captain is the AI. Mm-hmm. And you're all just trying to keep this ship running while these captains are taking you off on these crazy adventures. So it's really completely outside the box in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we hired voice actors to come in and play all the parts of the characters with ambient sound and stuff. And so it, like, when you're playing it just creates this immersive, fun, entertaining experience that's super light, and nobody ever has to, feel burdened by the weight of the game or anything. You just sort of experience the fun and the challenge of it and stuff. And we're pretty proud of it. It's pretty unique, and it's pretty damn fun to play.
I think the slate of voice actors you got is crazy too, because you have like the guy who did Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z does voice acting. You have Sungwon Cho, who does voice acting in a lot of other like cartoons and video games and things like that, did voice acting, and he was actually on a top 10 list here on the Dice Tower this week. So that was awesome. We talked about Forgotten Waters there. And you even have even crazier people, like they asked me to do a couple lines. I still have never heard them. I need to bug Nikki and be like, hey, what number do I need to type in to hear what my line is?
Yeah, they had. I actually got to do a little bit of acting
Oh
in
yeah.
what they call. I think they call it voila, or I don't know what they call it. It's like background voices and stuff. So
Oh,
when
that's
they like
awesome.
have the pirates cheer or something, then I was like back there cheering and stuff. I think they cut all my parts out. I couldn't even cheer good enough to like be part of the. I couldn't even do that. I got heavily criticized, and I think
For
I
your
got.
cheering.
Yeah, I think I got written up in some movie magazine about what horrible acting that Jerry Hawthorne delivered. So
That's messed up. That's
yeah,
messed up. Man, I
I don't
I
think
I
I'm going
just
to pursue acting. I really don't think I'm going to do it.
I really love like the ambiance that like adds to the game. That's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about Plaid Hat games is they're very like thematic and immersive, and like y'all put that sort of first in the games you make.
Yeah, we sort of. I know it sounds. I mean, I'm sure other people do this too. I know they do because I see the other games out there,
Mm-hmm.
but we just sort of let our imaginations kind of we let them go. We sort of we kind of follow our imaginations down different rabbit holes and stuff and see where it goes, and um, just we just kind of let that be our guiding tool when it comes to this sort of thing. And we try different stuff. Um, we have a really good staff writer in Bistro who he's got this really twisted sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
You should have him on your show. Have you had him on? Yeah.
I haven't had
No.
Bistro on. That would be amazing because he's crazy and a great storyteller too. So
He kind of stays in the background a lot. I don't know if he does too many of this stuff, but he really needs to because his everything that we've done with Plaid Hat from way back in the Summoner Wars days, all the writing has always been very heavily
mm-hmm.
influenced and done by Bistro. I mean, the guy has got mountains and mountains of content that he's written for everything from the back of our boxes to like the tiny little bits of fluff that you read on a card. All that's done by Bistro, just one man. Now I do a lot of my own writing, so don't get me wrong. I mean, I do a lot of heavy lifting on mine, but my prose is so horrible that Bistro comes along behind me like a freaking janitor. He comes along behind me and he cleans up all my prose. In fact, we were just talking about today. I've been writing on this project for 6 months now, and I've been using this word, and I'm not going to say it because it's embarrassing, but I've been using this word wrong the whole time. And I'm telling you, I've used this word literally maybe a million times, and it's the wrong word. And every time, Bistro comes along and changes it to a different word, and I keep on using it. And then I messaged him this morning. I was like, I couldn't find this word in the dictionary. Am I using this right? He goes, no. And I've been changing it for you. I've been changing it for you for 6 months. I'm like, oh, golly. So
All right, I guess we'll get to some of the questions here. Kabuki Kid asks, "Do you have any pets?"
I do. I mean, you just heard my little dog down here. I have 4 dogs, but my littlest one is like this big, and she has this little, really gross little dirty ball that she wants me to throw for her. And she's been down here. If you hear her barking, she keeps coming up and barking to have me throw the ball. But yeah, I have 4 dogs, and throughout the years, we've had so many pets that it's ridiculous. I mean, I live in a petting zoo basically because we've had just guinea pigs, lizards, crabs, hamsters, mice. I mean, we've had like, I mean, a million dogs. We're just busting at the seams with animals. So yeah, we have pets all over the place.
Was part of that research for designing board games? You have to have all the different pets to see how the animals act, so you can make sure to write that narrative in there perfectly.
No, it's the other way around. I mean, I love my pets so much that they actually end up influencing some of my work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
one of our guinea pigs was the inspiration for Grumple the character in Aftermath.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and taking care of guinea pigs. I don't know if you've ever had guinea pigs, but they're really wonderful little creatures. But they really love fresh vegetables. And in order to like really like raise guinea pigs and have them be healthy and stuff, you have to supply them with lots of fresh veggies. And so that was like a big part of me writing Grumple for Aftermath, was making sure that all the guinea pig little quirks were all kind of represented there.
Dustin asks, Jerry, which of your narratives are you most proud of?
Of my narratives, when it comes to like you know, I have a few different things. I don't want to sound like I'm overly proud of my work, but there's three different things that I love the way I did it. One, I love for the cohesiveness of the story, for the well-roundedness of the story. I think Mice and Mystics is fantastic. I mean, it's a complete story. I really love the tone and the theme of Heart of Glorm. I love the fact that in order to defeat the boss of Heart of Glorm, you can't actually defeat him with weapons of any sort of normal kind. You have to. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but I mean, that game's pretty old. But in Heart of Glorm, you literally have to get the villain, who is a glowworm named Glorm. You have to get this villain to fall in love with a slug in order to defeat him. So now slugs love dead things, right? So the slugs love Glorm already, because slugs, that's basically what they live on, is dead material, right? And Glorm's an undead glowworm filled with all this magical energy. I know it's kind of silly, but it's the Mice and Mystics. It's the Mice and Mystics universe. But the only way that you can get Glorm to get past his darkness is by having him fall in love. And the way you do that is you have to go through this process of finding the ingredients to make this magical love potion, and then you have to dip an arrow into it and shoot Glorm with it while he is in the vicinity of this slug, so that he can fall in love with the slug, right? That's the way you defeat him. I just think that's just the funniest thing in the world, to defeat the ultimate villain through love. I thought that was just fantastic. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of is probably Aftermath, the way that the story comes together in Aftermath, and the way it's the story is cohesive, and yet at the same time, it's all little bits of story that the more you play the game, the more you sort of plug all these little bits of story in, and it keeps on sort of growing the overall narrative. And I think that the way it grows in sort of an organic way, rather than a linear and forced sort of storytelling, I think that is really hard to pull off, and I was really proud of that. So there you go. I have three things that I've done that I'm proud of.
Kabuki Kid asks, what is your favorite game outside of your designs or your company?
Outside of my designs or my company?
Well, basically outside of Plaid Hat games.
Okay. Yeah, because they're one and the same. My current favorite or all-time favorite, or is there I mean, I like a lot of games. Right now, one of my favorite games is Deep Blue, because it's a huge hit in my family. And have you played Deep Blue?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's really cool. You have you're basically, every player has their own little sort of scuba diving little franchise, and you're hunting for artifacts and stuff, and you are guiding your little boats around this ocean, around this area, this archipelago or whatever, looking for the best dive sites. And then you're trying to lead dives, and then other people can jump in on your dives. And then when you go on a dive, it is handled through this bag that you're pulling gems out of this bag. So it's a little bit of a push your luck element to it. And then there's a little bit of deck building to it, because you can make money, and then the money you can spend to buy cards to put into your little deck. And the cards are like little crew members that make your franchise better. So you have a lot of little stuff going on. All of it's very light. All of it's very, very, easy to grasp. And I've taught this game to a bunch of people in my family, and I have a family full of mostly non-gamers, so they don't like very many things, and they love Deep Blue. And of course, I love it because of that. And because it's just fun to play. So that's one of my favorites right now. My all-time favorite is, I love the game Hero Quest. It is the game that I'm a game designer right now because of that game. Seriously, because of that game, I'm a game designer. And I don't mean that lightly. It's literally, I can relate everything right back to Hero Quest. But the game, I think it's still magic to me. It's the best combination of ease of play and adventure, and the rules are written so tightly that is, I mean, it's a masterpiece of rules writing. And then there's just this huge visual toy factor of the game that's just off the charts. I mean, the design work on that, just making all the little half plastic, half cardboard furniture back in the 80s, and having all this constructible furniture, and then the board was made in such a way that that you play this game a million times, but the board configuration is different every time. If you sit down and think about how ahead of his time that game was,
Oh yeah.
it'll really blow your mind. It'll really blow your mind. So yeah, I totally love that game. And I have everything, dude. I have everything. I have my whole collection, and then I have a whole separate collection in shrink wrap. That's how bad I love the game. I even have like the Barbarian and Elf quest packs, which are like incredibly hard to get in shrink. In shrink.
I swear I've watched that the best thing about Hero Quest review video like a million times just because
I know.
It's so hilarious. It's like
It's
one of the
great.
best
I love
videos
that.
on the internet.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? The funny thing about Hero Quest is it's the same for a lot of people. There's a lot of dudes my age and younger and even older who all feel the same way about that game. It was very, very special. It was like the Star Wars of board games. Seriously, it launched an enormous amount of hobby interest before board gaming was really a hobby that people were interested in. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome. And I'm sure it like created the ability for a lot of creativity as people could kind of like work through and make the maps their own and that sort of thing.
Yeah, once I got my first computer, Windows 95, I started making my own homebrew stuff for. Prior to that, I was making it on notebook paper. But back when I was on Windows 95 and the internet was like very new, we would have Usenet groups and stuff, and people would like talk about HeroQuest. Well, I got on this thing where we were sending, we were making homebrew expansions for it and sending it by snail mail to each other. So every once in a while I'd get like a big yellow envelope in the mail, and I would open it up and it would have a bunch of homemade, tokens and counters and stuff for HeroQuest. And, I would play it, and then I would, email the person and give them some feedback, and stuff. And I would send my stuff to them, and it was pretty crazy. So,
yeah, I mean that you can definitely see how that has a lot of like influence in like developing and design from there, right?
Yeah. And then the connection starts to happen because when my son was about to be born, I got on this kick where I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that my son has all the cool stuff I had when I was a kid. So I started getting on eBay. I was fascinated with eBay at the time. And I was getting on eBay and I was ordering up all this old toys and stuff that I had when I was a kid. And I started like browsing around for, even though he wasn't born yet, I was browsing. I know this is dumb, but I was browsing around for things that I could do with my son. But I also had a couple of young nephews at the time that I was really close to. And so it was like sort of this crossover thing. So I found this game on the New York Toy Fair when they had the New York Toy Fair in 2004, New York City Toy Fair. And there were some images on the internet of the things that Hasbro was showing off at their Toy Fair. And I saw that they had this game. It looked really interesting. It had a dragon in it. And it also had the skeletons from HeroScape from HeroQuest were on the map. It was HeroScape, but it was a prototype, and they had used the skeletons from HeroQuest, so it caught my eye. I recognized, those skeletons with the little scythe. I mean, it's unmistakable. I saw those, and I got interested in it, and I found out that, I found out when I got interested in it, I started like trying to, scour the internet looking for information. I found out that the guy that kind of designed the beginning sort of parts of HeroScape, the tiles and all that stuff, the little constructible terrain, that was Stephen Baker, the same guy who designed HeroQuest. So there's this DNA that was shared by HeroScape and HeroQuest. Not only was it, Hasbro, Milton Bradley and stuff, but there was some DNA that was shared there in the design work. And then the language that they used on the cards in HeroScape had the same kind of wording. There's a way of wording things in the, in design where like if you have a company like Hasbro, they'll use the same kind of phrasing and wording in a lot of their stuff. So this is kind of like having their own language, and you can pick it out if you're used to it. Well, I saw the same language in HeroScape cards that had been used on Hero Quest cards and stuff, and Hero Quest abilities. And so I was like, immediately, there was all this shared DNA between the two. I was immediately interested in HeroScape. So when I got into HeroScape, suddenly, out of the magic of this weird world we live in, I was able to meet over the internet Craig Van Ness and Rob Davio and stuff, and they brought me on because of my enthusiasm alone. They brought me on as a playtester for HeroScape, and so that's how I got my foot in the door in designing games. It was actually literally through HeroQuest, and then the evolution of that. So
That's awesome, yeah, and it's cool to see like all that stuff and how it's all come together. That's really cool.
yeah, I think so.
Corlu asks, what does Jerry think of the pirate ship die that Roy made? I don't know if you saw that. I know I posted it on Twitter or whatever. I made like a little resin die with a little pirate ship inside of it.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was really cool. I think I even commented on it. It's super cool.
Yeah, I don't have it with me. It's actually
Did you send me one? Did you send me one in the mail? No.
I only
Or
made
did you
one.
just make? Did you just make one?
It's actually in the Dice Tower like library copy of it. I put it in Tom's copy. So
That's
that way,
awesome.
if anybody goes to like, if anybody plays Forgotten Water at a Dice Tower convention,
They get to use your little pirate.
Then they can see the little pirate ship
one.
die. So, I wasn't 100% happy with it because like the water like splashed too much on the side of the ship, and like there's a little bit of bubbles in the bottom of it. You have to get like a pressure pot and all this crazy stuff to make some dice properly. But I thought it looked cool and it was fun to make.
It does look cool. I remember seeing it. Is it a D12 or a D20?
It's a D12. Use D12s in the game.
D12. Yes. Okay. Making sure.
You could still use it to roll up your pirate name, right?
Yeah.
So. Nice. Oh, let's see. All sorts of crazy questions here. Okay, let's see. Okay. Gator Dave says, since Plaid Hat became independent publisher again, does it feel more like the old Plaid Hat days?
Yes, it does. We are returning to some of our old titles. I don't know if you've heard, but Summoner Wars is a well-loved title of ours. That not only do we love it, but we have an enormous fan base out there of people who love that game, and we're making a return to that. And there's some stuff going on with Ashes, and so yeah, we're kind of returning to our roots in a lot of ways. Also, there is, and I don't want to make it sound like there's anything bad about any of the companies that have owned us before, but there is a certain joy in being independent. There's a certain agility that little independent studios have to sort of respond to consumer demand, respond to our consumer base in ways that we just didn't really have the tools to do when we were working for a big company, because it's just too hard to navigate the changing industry. And we have like this creative freedom to sort of explore new innovations that we didn't quite have when decisions were being made for us by people who are disconnected from what we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's funny because the other day I actually texted Colby. I'm like, "Hey, where's Summoner Wars 2?" And he's like, "Oh, trust me, I'm working super hard on it." So it's
in every way that you would expect it to be the same and yet better. It is. It's going to deliver on all that. So.
Yeah, I mean, when I started first, like I played board games all my life, but when I started first getting into like board games as like my main hobby, because I did a lot of Magic and D&D and all that stuff, like Summoner Wars was one of the first games that I grabbed, and that like master set was so fun and so awesome. I'm sure you've done lots of work with Colby around a lot of those different projects as well too. So
Yes.
Cool. Let's see. Any other good questions? Jerry, which is the best Hero Quest character? Says Mr. Dreadful.
The best Hero Quest character? It's got to be the dwarf.
There you go.
I don't know. I played the dwarf the last time that we played, and I was really happy with him. But I never play the wizard. The elf might be pretty good if he has the right spells. But then if he has the right spells, that means that the wizard doesn't.
Gator Dave says, "Why is Grumple the best guinea pig in gaming?"
Grumble might be the only guinea pig in gaming.
First to market.
That's right. First to market.
Coraloo asks, where do you find your inspiration? Some deep questions coming on here.
I've talked about this in some interviews. I have like basically two primary sources for inspiration, I think, that have really spawned games and game ideas for me. Number one are Pixar movies, because what I love about Pixar movies is they have this certain magic where they're able to make a movie that kids can enjoy and parents can enjoy, even if they're for the same or different reasons. They're both getting it's unbelievable how much massive joy they're getting out of the experience together. When I first started dating my wife, one of the first movies that we went and saw was Toy Story. I mean, that's a fantastic movie. I mean, Toy Story, come on. But the movie that inspired Mice and Mystics was The Incredibles. And I'll tell you exactly how that worked. When I watched The Incredibles, I was astounded by they had 4 characters, which were a family, right? So it was. I mean, I had a young family. You know, there were 4 characters that were a family, and each character had its own sort of superpower, right? But those superpowers that they had also sort of matched the theme of their role in the family. So the dad was strong, the mom was flexible, the kid was, always running around and hard to keep up with, and the daughter just wanted to be invisible because she's a teenager, right? So there's very much like a real family, but their abilities reflected that. And also, like in the movie at least, all their abilities sort of like dovetailed in with each other. And so, and you're watching the movie, you're watching them use their abilities to all work together as a team to overcome all these challenges. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to make a game like that, where if you got together with your family, you could each, grab a role and then play it, and then you all would have to use your abilities together in order to accomplish your goals. And so that was the original idea. And I started working with that idea. And at the time, my kids were really into the Lego Star Wars, games on TV and stuff. And there's a lot of ways that Lego Star Wars games, when you move from one scene to the next, it's always like a lot of different activities. There's a little bit of fighting, and there's a little bit of building, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, and it's very engaging. And so I made Mice and Mystics with the idea that I started making the mechanics for it before I started really working with the story. And then when I told the story about my daughter needing to learn how to read, and I thought I'd add some story into this game idea I had. And I ended up changing the characters and making them a mice because she was interested in mice, and that's how Mice and Mystics came about. Stuffed Fables came about the same way because of Inside Out, the movie Inside Out, which I absolutely love. So anyways, there's a lot of inspiration that I get from the Pixar movies. When I was making Aftermath, I had Wall-E in mind quite a bit because of the way that they portrayed the dystopia, this sort of this apocalyptic view of the world with sort of a sentimental kind of quality to it. I thought that was really interesting, and so that was a big part of Aftermath. So that's where I get my inspiration from.
That's awesome.
When I write characters, though, the characters are just basically people that I know in my real life, and that I just characterize them into the game. And that's the only way that I know how to write characters, is by, thinking of somebody I know well enough to know their personality, and then trying to condense that into a character, and then have it act appropriately in the different situations that I put them into.
So like New life goal is become friends with Jerry enough to be written into one of his games. No, I'm just kidding.
Nobody wants to be written into my game.
Whatever.
They might find.
They find out their character's like the bad guy.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
And they have to fall in love with a slug all of a
I
sudden.
don't try to be
oh,
obvious about it. So I don't tell people I'm writing them into my games or anything. I don't try to be obvious about it.
All right, so tell us who's Glorm? Who is the undead glowworm? Let's have it. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even remember. I think Glorm was based upon. I forget. Glorm was based upon something or somebody at the time, but I can't remember who it was now. But did you ever meet Harald, the head of Heidelberger Games? Games. So if I was to say Glorm was like anybody, I would say Glorm was like Harald, right? Because Harald loved Glorm, and he took me aside one day, and he said, "This Glorm, I like this Glorm."
That's awesome.
He speaks to me. I like this Glorm. He speaks to me. I don't like people either, and Glorm doesn't like people, and neither do I. And I know you haven't met him, so you don't know. But Harald was like one of the nicest, most loving people in the board game industry, and he took care of all of his people.
That's awesome.
He never fired a person in his whole entire career of like running his board game empire. He never fired a single person. But he always talked about how much he hated people. just to be a contrarian or something. He's just a funny guy.
Gator Dave asks, what has been your favorite game that you have gotten to reintroduce to your kids?
My favorite game I've gotten to reintroduce to my kids, I would probably say Hero Quest.
I figured that was probably the answer.
I don't know if it's their favorite, but I certainly enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Munchkining Gamer says, we got to ask, what is your favorite food?
Munchkining Gamer. What is my favorite food? I would say chili. I think it's easy. It's an easy question. Chili, hands down. I actually make really good chili. My chili has won 2 separate awards and 2 separate chili cook-offs.
Let me ask, since Colby and Isaac are from the Ohio area and you're from Texas, do you put chocolate in your chili?
No, I don't put chocolate in my chili.
Who would do that? That's insane. Get out of here, Ohio. What's wrong with you guys?
Ohio people put chocolate in their chili?
This whole like Skyline chili thing and like sweet chili that's on spaghetti, I don't know what's up with it. I'm not a fan. Like I'm down with like Texas Southern spicy chili, you know. It's hearty.
My chili's got some kick to it. Although I will admit, my chili does have beans in it.
Yes, it should.
Yes. Well, in Texas they don't really like the beans.
What?
But everybody's had my chili loves it. And like I said, I've like won in two different chili cook-offs down here in Texas.
For me, like if you're going to talk about like Tex-Mex chili, it seemed like it's like a really thick, hearty chili with all sorts of just good stuff thrown in it. So.
Yeah.
So Rachel asks, with several question marks, Stuffed Fables expansion? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I don't know.
Yes. Okay, so we have a Stuffed Fables expansion that's coming out this year. It's going to be released by Z-Man Games. It was designed by me before Plaid Hat went independent. But it was all done. It was completely finished by us and sent off to print. So it should be coming out this year sometime. Although I haven't heard anything because this is we're living in a weird world right now. But and I'm not even exactly sure how Z-Man does their release marketing. How they get the word out about their releases and stuff. I don't know how all that works. but the expansion or the expansion for Stuff Fables is called Oh Brother, and it is about the same family now has a new little baby boy that has been born into the family, and he has his own stuffies and stuff. So they it expands upon the original story, and you have new minions, and you have a new villain, and a whole bunch of new experiences, and it's a super heartwarming story that is just like the original, but like new and fresh, and you have all the same little talking bits afterwards, and the fables beforehand and everything. And it's just I'm like so excited for people to see this and play it and stuff, because I think it's just super, super cool.
That's awesome. I'm stoked to find out more. I know when you guys first split off, you had this heartwarming post about how like splitting off was a little bit of like leaving. You had to leave some of your babies behind with this stuff, but it's exciting to know that there's still a little bit of stuff you've already worked on still coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, there should be some stuff. Again, it's all out of my hands. I mean, they could. I doubt that it would be canceled because it was already sent off to print. So it won't be. I don't think it'll be canceled, but you just never know nowadays. It's the weird world that we're in. But this expansion is it's a smaller it's a smaller box set than the original. It's a little bit smaller, lower price point. It doesn't come with a new rule book or anything. It's just a new storybook, some new characters to play, and new minions and cards and stuff to go with it. Stuff. It's really pretty cool.
Awesome. Kabuki Kid asks, I know Tom has some of these masks, so that's probably why they're asking, do you have a set of the Mice and Mystics masks in your house? They were like
the rubber masks.
The Halloween rubber
Halloween
masks.
Ones. I have. I do. I have Maganos. That's the one I have. I have Maganos. Yes, I have Maganos, and that's the only one I have. There was a Jacoby, but I didn't end up with that one. I don't know who has that one. But those are the only two. Oh, nice. And there was a goblin from it was like Summoner Wars or something like that. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Nice. Simple Combo says, "I love your work, Jerry. Mice and Mystics forever!" Exclamation point.
Oh, dude, forever! I swear, swear.
That's awesome.
I would love to be designing more Mice and Mystics stuff. Oh, I love it. I wish.
Simple Combo also asks, what are you currently playing, Jerry? Like what board games?
Well, as you know, I'm a full-time game designer, so I play a lot of my own stuff. And I mentioned earlier, Deep Blue. I have the new Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, and the last game I think I played with other people, besides that wasn't my own prototype, was Sanctum. Have you played that one yet?
It's like a Diablo, but I haven't played it. But yeah, it looks very Diablo-like, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I really enjoyed the activity of it. There's there's just a plethora of ways that you can approach sort of building your character and stuff as you go along. And I didn't win, but I had a blast playing. I rarely win. I mostly, when I play games, I probably frustrate some people because I like to tinker a lot more than actually try to win sometimes, and sometimes I do win. So it's not like I never win, but tinkering is where I'm at, so building my character, I found so much fun in Sanctum. I think games like that are super fun when you're able to like kind of sort of go crazy doing your own thing.
How important do you think it is, like as a game designer, to get out there and try different designs and see what mechanics are currently out there in the industry?
I think it's very important. When I started actually doing work, content development and stuff in this industry as a content designer and stuff. The industry wasn't that big, so you could literally know every game, what I'm saying, that was currently, to offer. And then there was a period of a couple of years there where I tried to keep up with all the games that were out there and stuff. And then at some point, it just, our industry sort of started to boom. And now I'm of the belief that you should find your lane and sort of kind of stick in that and see what's going on in your lane. Because there's a certain kind of game I like, right? Mm-hmm. And there's certain kind of games I know I'm never going to try to be a designer of, I'm never going to do this kind of game or that kind of game. And as much as I appreciate those games, I kind of like the game. I still like to be a consumer of the games that I enjoy, of the genre that I enjoy, which is dungeon crawls and adventure kind of board games and stuff, narrative heavy. I also like, games that are casual games that families can play and stuff that non-gamers can engage with easily. Those games still really inspire me. Like I love games like Horrified. I just absolutely love that stuff. And like I was mentioning, Deep Blue, super easy. And when people are playing it and they're not used to this kind of game and they pick it up really easy, but then they see how different it is from a mainstream game, that's really cool. I love that. And so that's kind of like where I'm at right now.
I think it's crazy that the fact that I try to tinker around with design stuff a little bit, the fact of where I'm at, the fact that I see almost every game. I don't get to play every single game, but I edit reviews and do videos and see so many different mechanics and videos and different things that the brand new people are trying out. And then there's stuff that the veterans are trying out. It's very interesting to see the way the industry is continually innovating and all sorts of things.
Oh yeah. And if there used to be a time where if you wanted to know every game designer in the industry, you only had to remember, a few dozen names, right?
Yeah.
But now I can't. I feel bad, but now I can't keep up with the names of the designers of the games and the companies and stuff. There's so many companies, so many games, and it's all wonderful. But there's no way that I can be a consumer of all of it. There's no way that I can be a board game aficionado. There's no way anymore, I used to think that I could be this, oh yeah, I'm a board game guy, but I'm not a board game guy. I'm an adventure and dungeon crawl kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where I'm at.
I think it's very interesting too, how the industry as a whole, certain trends or different things will set in. I know one of the things that you started, this whole adventure book idea or playing, I feel I don't know that I saw anybody doing it before stuff Fables, the whole playing on a book and that's your map and it's also got your story there as well. That was pretty revolutionary, and I've seen several other games that are starting to do that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, I'm not one that wants to take credit for a bunch of stuff. What I see is I see the game industry as this pool of creative individuals, and our creativity inspires creativity in other people, and their creativity inspires creativity in us. And so it's all just this big giant festival of sharing stuff and being delighted by it. So I don't want to put a feather in my hat and say I'm the guy that did that, because exactly, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is that we constantly keep people engaged in this hobby, and we keep fulfilling their expectations, and we keep being honest and true about what we do. You know what I'm saying? The best way to be innovative is to just think about what you can offer that comes from you, because everybody's the most innovative thing you can do is express yourself, because nobody is you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at it. I wasn't even the one who came up with the idea for the books and stuff, Fables. I wanted to do kind of like what was done with Near and Far, even though at the time I didn't even know about Near and Far. But what I wanted to do, or maybe it was Above and Below, I can't remember which one, But I know that Red Raven Games, Ryan Lockup was doing that stuff right about the same time I was doing that stuff.
Gotcha.
And I wasn't inspired by him, but it was really cool that it all was sort of happened at the same time. It's kind of like one of those things that pops up. But I wanted to have a map book and to make it easy to set up, and then have a storybook on the side that you could like read from and pass around. And I told Colby about my idea. It's one of those pitch meetings where I was pitching my idea to him, and then he listened to my idea and everything. And you know how hard he is to read. He was listening to my idea and everything, and he said, "One book." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "One book. I want you to put them together into one book. Why have two separate books? Why not just?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, boom. You lay the book out. You got your map over here. You got your rules over here. I want that. I want one book. Can you see if you can do it with one book? And so I went back to the drawing board. I scrapped my previous idea. Thankfully, it wasn't that far into it. And I started like trimming down my story so that it would all fit into one book. And that's how it came about. So
I love that the new like mini Gloomhaven game, like the Jaws of the Lion game, utilizes like a storybook style map. And they were trying to do that as like, this is going to be our intro game. This makes it easier for people to play the game because it's a storybook. Well, people were just like, no, this needs to be in real Gloomhaven. You need to put this in Gloomhaven. You put this in Frosthaven. And the community like outpoured, and they're like, storybook, we need to do it now. And they added that to their like Kickstarter or whatever. So storybook is what's hot.
I think that's totally cool, man. It's totally cool because my next game's going to be in one of those books. So, Gloomhaven like comes out there and they continue to champion that kind of idea. Then my games keep on getting attention too, and people are used to that. And they're like, okay, cool. It's just like kind of like Gloomhaven or maybe stuff Fables, and they can play it like that.
Or people will be like, hey, I really like Gloomhaven, but there's no way I could play it with my kids or with my family. Let me check out stuff Fables. I mean, that's perfect for that. And the kids can help play it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my next game coming out is going to be like very family friendly and, very much like a family adventure kind of thing. So.
Gator Dave says, what is the process when you either get stuck in a game design or realize something is just not working?
Yeah, it sucks. So like when you get stuck in a game design, the first thing that you do is panic. And then you get like, well, it's like kind of like, have you ever heard of like the 7 stages of like, I don't know, like grief or something? Like what I do first, it starts with when something's not working and I can't seem to get past it. It starts with anxiety, right? So like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my heart will be pounding. And the reason is, and I know the reason because the thoughts going through my mind are like, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this, do this thing? Because, we can't just take 10 years to make a board game. We have sort of a timeline. And so those are that anxiety that you're suffering from and anything that's caused by your blockage only makes it worse. Like having anxiety is paralyzing. And so then you get paralyzed and then that causes more anxiety and you sort of freeze up. So what I do is exercise, and I do any kind of like mind clearing stuff. I don't want to recommend, things that I do to people who might not be into it, but I meditate, I do yoga, I do, I jog, I do walks with my dog, I do everything that involves no electronics and no consuming of any kind of information. It's just
I always think
the opposite of
tasks,
consuming information.
Like mundane tasks and things where it's like you can do something that doesn't actually engage your mind. Like it for me at least, it always like fosters creativity. It's like if I'm washing the dishes or mowing the yard or taking a walk without like action, or taking a shower, that sort of thing where it's like you're doing a thing physically, but you're not mentally engaged. So your brain gets bored. So it can help spawn this creativity.
Yeah. When my daughter was young and she was struggling to learn how to read, and which is part of why I created Mice and Mystics to help her learn how to read, they said that to have her sit on a ball while she's reading. Just sit on a ball rather than sitting in a chair. And the reason for this is because the mechanism inside your brain that controls your balance, that mechanism, if you activate that mechanism while you're trying to read, it'll clear your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like that physical action of trying to balance will clear your mind and allow you to read easier. And so, like, it's things like that. Like, there's mechanical things that you can do to reset your brain and get rid of the things that are clogging up your mind, which are typically, in my case, I don't know about everybody else. In my case, it's typically the monkey mind that comes from having too many thoughts racing through my mind of things that I haven't accomplished yet that I need to be working on. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the clutter that comes in your mind and causes this anxiety sort of thing. And then the anxiety blocks you from being creative. And Rob Davio said some important things one time about creativity. He said that he gets up in the morning and he does not engage in social media or anything like that until after he's had time to be creative, to have his coffee, whatever kind of freaking special coffee that he probably makes with all kinds of goofy crap in it. Or maybe it's just super awesome fancy coffee that's jet black or something. You know, Rob Davio has good taste. I don't. But but you know what I'm saying? He's like, he does not engage in any kind of, like, you know, dealing with the outside world, you know, and dealing with electronics in the outside world and any of that stuff that brings that into your home. He doesn't deal with that until after he's had a chance to have his morning creative time and stuff. And I tell you what, I think that's a really good example of how to be a creative person like Rob Davio, you know?
Yeah, I think that sort of stuff's super important. And you see a lot of, like, super, I don't know, productive people being like, social media, you know? So, well, to get out of the stressful stuff, Corlu asks, would you rather go go-karting or surfing?
I would rather go surfing. I love the ocean and I love the beach. And I know I probably don't look like it because I'm a really fair complected person. So I burn whenever I'm out at the ocean. But I love the heat and I love salt water and I just love the ocean. I'm horribly uncoordinated, so I'd probably, I've never been able to successfully surf, let me put it that way. But I'd love to try. I've been out there on a surfboard before, and it's exhausting, wonderfully exhausting, and it can be brutal too. But I loved every minute of it.
Oh, goodness. Question, Texas barbecue brisket, fatty, lean, or 50-50 split? Food questions?
So I'm going to go with the big end because I like the little fat on there. There's a great thing about barbecue is the fat is where the flavor is, and that's also where the tenderness and the juicy comes from, right? If it's rendered just right so that you have this candy on the outside and you have a little bit of layer of that fat and then you have that tender meat just below that, that's a perfect bite right there. You take a bite of that with a little bit of fat, a little bit of the candy, and a little bit of the meat. Boom.
Awesome. Bonzo says, quick, we're playing an area control game with multiple paths to victory, and I'm coming for you. Do you fight or do you flight? I about to say, Jerry's not the confrontational guy. He's the nice guy.
Yeah, well, and if there's not an opportunity to, like, develop some kind of mutually beneficial strategy of some kind, then I will retreat to draw you into a ambush, and then I will squeeze you.
Pincer formation.
I probably won't. I mean, I'll probably just weaken you enough so that you won't be able to win the game anyway. So you better just back off.
You don't do the to the ends of the earth bistro strategy, that's for sure, right?
No.
Do you play D&D, and if so, what's your favorite edition?
I played D&D when I was a kid, and I was obsessed with it. But I haven't really played it in modern times. So my favorite edition would probably be the red box. Actually, we used to play the blue box, but it'd probably be the red box edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I even loved the expert edition quite a bit. Okay, and I still have it. And my favorite character, I always play. And in fact, if I was to play it nowadays, I would probably play a cleric as well. And I really love the idea of having a dwarf cleric. So that would probably be my favorite. It'd be a dwarf cleric.
That's awesome. Kabuki Kid asks, what is the most wargamey game that you like? Wargamey.
The most board gamey game that I like?
Wargamey, like war games.
Oh, wargaming game. Well, golly, I haven't played a war game in a long time. I grew up on. You know what? I'll tell you what. The Heroes of Land, Sea, and Air. That's a fun game. I played that a couple months. I played that a few months ago, back before the COVID thing, and I really, really like that one. So I'm going to say that one because that's the last one I played, and I thought it was pretty cool. But I was raised on Squad Leader and Crescendo of Doom, and all these old school war games from the past, at Chit and Hex war games. So that's what I cut my teeth on. But nowadays, I just really I would prefer to play something like Heroes of Land, Sea, and Air.
What is a dream IP you would like to work on to make a game about?
Well, it's probably there's a few, but for a long time, I really, 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 really wanted to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles version of Mice and Mystics.
Ooh.
Because it would just be a perfect fit. Mm-hmm. The way that the tiles flip in Mice and Mystics, you could have the above ground stuff, and then you could have the sewer stuff, and then instead of cheese, you have a pizza wheel, and
there you go. That would be
pizza
amazing.
Slices.
You're right.
I know, dude. I know. It was a perfect fit. So yeah, that would be a great license. But I really love the Mutant Year Zero. I love that. I would love to work on Mutant Year Zero. There's others too. I mean, I have plenty of IPs. I don't do IPs, but I would love to do some IPs because I think I could do them justice. Mutant Year Zero would be one of them. I really love this game that my son was obsessed with a little while back called Don't Starve. I think that would be a cool little board game with that kind of art and stuff. It'd be really cool. So, yeah, there's just a lot.
I think it's interesting. Like, there's been a lot of, I don't know, like companies working together. Like, there's a company that has an IP, and then a company that has a board game that's already established, and they're like, hey, what if we mix our peanut butter with your chocolate? And they work together to put the IP on different board games. So I've seen that a lot in the industry.
They spread out the risk there a little bit and stuff, and they spread out the cost maybe. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, there's so many IPs out there that would be wonderful to work on. I mean, I would love to do the Darkest Dungeon would be a great IP. I mean, I heard they're working on a board game, but I haven't seen anything about it. Stuff like that.
I'm gonna read this, even though I probably shouldn't. Munchkin Gamer asks a hilarious question. Roy, will you take your game you're making to Jerry when you're finished with it?
What? What does that mean?
They're asking if I'll take my game that I'm working on to you when I'm finished with it. Secret. Jerry's already played it.
Anyway. Yeah, I've already played that game.
Anyway.
I've actually played it a couple of times.
Faux show. Soon. I promise soon. Soon. I'll be able to not be so weird about it. Okay. Corlu asks, what's your favorite game to take with you when you travel?
I like Destiny Quest. It's a book that plays it kind of plays like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit more sophisticated than the old fashioned choose your own adventures. And so I take that with me when I'm traveling. Summoner Wars is a really good one because it's so portable, especially with the paper map. Yeah, those are probably a couple of the ones that I take with me when I go somewhere.
And since we're here near the end, I wanted to ask you, is there anything more we can like expect from you, or anything you want to talk about for things we can expect from you from Plaid Hat?
So yeah, I'm gonna have a game coming out next year, and it's going to be an adventure game that's narrative-driven adventure game. It's also card-driven. It has a very involved story that you're playing through, and the characters kind of grow and change in that story. So there's going to be a strong emphasis on the growth of your characters, and I can't say much more than that because I can't really get into talking about the mechanics, and I can't really give away the story much. But it's going to have it's going to be probably I don't know if it's going to be similar to Forgotten Waters in some ways.
Ooh,
because
nice.
The story is going to be presented to the players in a very similar way to Forgotten Waters. Is going to be, there's going to be lots of talent put into delivering the story, sort of thing. So
I'm stoked.
I can't really, like I said, I can't really talk about it that much because it's still too early. Even though we're Plaid Hat and we can do whatever we want now, we still have to kind of hold our cards close until we're sure that we're actually going to have the game ready. And
you don't want to have a Dungeon Run 2 situation.
Yeah, we don't want to have a Dungeon Run 2 situation. Seriously. That's exactly what we don't want to have. We don't want to announce something and then not, and then just have it kind of, I don't know, change directions or something.
Awesome. Well, if anybody is interested in learning more about Plaid Hat or learning more about the games you're putting out, or where can they look and find that sort of stuff?
Well, we have our, plaidhatgames.com, which is our website, and it's new and it's flashy. So if you haven't been there yet, go check out Joe's new version of the Plaid Hat website. It's very nice. Also, we are on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, mice_guy on Twitter, if you want to follow me or stuff. And then just the places that you normally engage with your game people, like on BGG and stuff like that. So at the conventions when we have them.
Also, another cool thing is that there was a ton of work put into making Forgotten Waters so you can play it remotely. So, hey, if you're interested in Forgotten Waters, you'll be able to easily be able to... I think it's as long as someone owns at least one copy of the game, you can figure out a way to play that together remotely.
Yeah, what a lot of people might not know, maybe they do, is that Joe, the creator of Forgotten Waters, is also an incredibly talented web designer and just IT kind of guru. And so part of the talent that he brings is not only his passion for game design, but he also has these other skills that involve all this crazy stuff that he can do. So he designed our website, he designed Forgotten Waters app, and he designed the remote app, and he did all this stuff. He's one of our staff members, so this is all part of what we do now. Because he's every bit as much of Plaid Hat as we are, and so this is what we do. We got this guy who can do this stuff, and we're proud of it, and we want you to see more of it, and then you're going to, and so it's pretty cool. I was working all day long today on some of the back end stuff that Joe's created for my next game, and it's really cool. So
that's awesome. Well, I'm stoked to learn more about you guys' upcoming games, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on Plaid Hat for all the new stuff coming up, and Summoner Wars 2 soon, hopefully. So,
dude, Summoner Wars 2 is coming, and it's probably going to be, I imagine it's probably going to be our next big thing. So, and we also have the Ashes stuff coming too, so it's been really cool.
Super excited. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me, Jerry, and thanks for everybody coming by and asking all the questions. Y'all are all the best, and I guess we'll see everybody on the next one. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.